Yesterday, we ran out of Van's gluten-free original waffles. And if we were going to get more yummy, yummy, delicious waffles, it meant I had to go out and run a couple errands. And so, of course, I ran to my local Target here in beautiful Greensboro, North Carolina. And you can't go to a Target as a toy collector without being sucked into the toy aisle to, see if anything might be hanging there. What? Empty pegs except one precious, precious deluxe Black Series figure? Well, looked to my left, looked to my right, and of course reacted like any other fan would do in this occasion, stealthily putting it in my cart and backing out before anyone noticed. And, of course, when you get to the cash wrap and ring it up, it comes with a reality check of noting that you just paid $29.99 for a Black Series figure, which, is a little bit on the high side, especially compared to how they've been. I mean, for years, they've been $20. Yeah, they're bumping up to like $22, $23, but it's been pretty standard. And lately, we're getting now a mix of basic figures at $20, $23, and now deluxe figures at $30. And this has made a lot of fans question why, especially because the continuity in deluxe figures is a little bit all over the map. Sometimes they're 2-packs, or at least one regular figure with one Yoda-sized figure. Other times they're much larger original tool figures, or characters that come with small vehicles, like this Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike, which is actually a reissue of the previous Scout Trooper and Speeder Bike. Or characters that, because they have more arms or lightsabers or, taller, they need deluxe boxes to hold them. Other times it's just been piece count and plussing up an existing retail figure for an online or convention offering by throwing in some exclusive add-ons that are usually newly tooled but make the figure either worth purchasing double or at least tracking down this one as your ideal purchase of the figure. So with all the different versions of deluxe figures we've had, what's kind of settled to the top is this package here, or this SKU, if you will. That is the $29.99, and we've got a variety of characters in this new box, and this has kind of become the new de facto deluxe SKU. And we've gotten characters from cartoons, from movies, all over the map. The prequels, the original trilogy, you name it. We now have our sort of definitive deluxe SKU. Now, of course, there's the confusion when a deluxe SKU shows up in a basic SKU box with fewer accessories, and fans are left scratching their head why they paid more money, or especially when that figure winds up on the discount aisle and you're now paying as much as a basic figure, or even perhaps less than you would for a basic figure, because the figure is just not selling. Sorry, Jar Jar, you're just never going to be a hit. What can I say? $8.99? I don't know, still passing. So why are there different SKUs in the Black Series? Why do we have to have these deluxe SKUs? Are they just, price gouging us? There's a lot of reasons. One of them is to complete a team. I mean, to do all of the characters from Rebels, the whole crew of the Ghost, Zeb is a larger character, and he's more expensive to produce. But the main reason is how SKUs are displayed and brought to retail. So you've heard me go on and on about planograms. If you've got the bingo card, you can definitely take a hit. And while there are multiple SKUs at the same price point, such as the archive selection, or even when they were doing the vintage cards, it was a way to bring back older figures that are very popular. The main SKU has been the black box. Now it has a colorful ribbon bar around it because you always have to do an evolution, not a revolution, of the packaging every year. But the reason we have now a deluxe and a regular is because of the planogram. Every line needs to have a certain amount of square footage at retail, and by having different price points within the same brand, and I'm not just saying Star Wars, but I'm saying specifically Black Series, what that allows is for the Black Series brand to have a larger footprint at retail, and that's always the goal, is to expand how much of a planogram you can get. 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 feet. It's basically like staking a claim in the retail aisle. The retail aisle is only 20 feet. And if you want to own that space, having a deluxe SKU at a different price point gives you more product to put on shelf and essentially increase your footprint. And this has nothing to do with whether there's empty pegs or not. It's about owning those pegs, not necessarily filling those pegs. I get it, pegs have been empty, that's a whole other issue. So let's talk about the king of Star Wars action figures, Mr. Boba Fett himself, survivor of the Sarlacc pit officially, and now new deluxe figure in the Black Series line. This one in particular has gotten a lot of fan pushback or confusion, shall we say, not because, like Jar Jar, he was offered on a basic fig card at the same time, but looking at his original release, it's not that different. I mean, yes, we all know the armor's a little different, and he's definitely newly tooled, no question about that, but it's also really difficult to do Boba Fett. Now, you might ask me, well, how in the world do I know this? How do I know Boba Fett's a hard figure to make as a consumer product?
Do you have a bit of experience in that arena?
So while a lot of fans know me from my time at Mattel on Masters of the Universe and DC, I also worked for quite a while at Jakks Pacific as director over their Big Figs line. And the flagship jewel in this line was Star Wars. It was a big reason I came to Jakks. I had the opportunity to work on Star Wars because I love Star Wars, and I didn't really have that opportunity at Mattel. So one of the questions we got at Jakks a lot was about our Boba Fett 20-inch, or rather 18-inch to be legal, Big Fig figure, because 18 inches was that scale that Jakks could snag. Yes, 20-inch scale, I know, but they're 18 inches, except for Chewbacca. So most of the figures came with blasters or lightsabers, and Boba Fett did not come with his blaster. He did come with a jetpack, but no blaster. Now look at Boba Fett compared to those other figures. Boba Fett has more deco. I mean, like, a lot more deco. And this is what makes him really, really hard and ridiculous to make as a toy. Because you obviously can't ship Boba Fett without his deco. Lucasfilm isn't going to approve that. And every time you put paint to a figure, it costs money. One of the easiest ways to cost reduce a figure to get it in line with the SRP or the target cost, which is called X Factory, that's the price it costs to make the figure, is to eliminate deco hits. It's why sometimes you see figures shown that first have a lot of hits and then they show up with a few. Most figures have about 100 hits, or paint ops. It can be deco hits, paint ops, different words mean the same thing. Boba Fett, on the other hand, has closer to 300 hits, because you have to do all of those little blaster marks, those chipped armor, all the there's color on the knee pads and the wrist gauntlets, and just look at him compared to Darth Maul. Darth Maul has almost no deco hits at all on his entire body. Yeah, he's got some on his head with the tattoos, but Boba Fett has deco all over him. Now this is a stripped down Boba Fett with sort of just the bare minimum we could get approved. So that's why he didn't come with the accessory. He basically needed to exchange the plastic that would go into his accessory, the cost of that plastic, for more deco hits. So you could interchange the pennies, if you will. The amount of money that would go into an accessory could be turned into paint deco costs. So let's look back at that Black Series figure, comparing him to the previous Black Series figure from Empire Strikes Back. So he's not that figure, and he's not just a taller version of the new 3 3/4 figure of Boba Fett in this same outfit. And opening it up, yes, obviously he has more piece count, but it's not like that much more. Sure, you got the blaster and the blast effects, but they both have jetpacks, so that doesn't count as an added accessory. But look at the deco. Look at the deco all over this figure. Look at the wrist gauntlets. The small details, the small sort of parts of his body that are absolutely covered in deco. And this is why the figure is a deluxe figure. The higher price point is needed in order to put this amount of deco on a figure. Yes, you're also getting added piece count, with the flamethrower and all that. I mean, even the accessories have deco on them, and a lot of deco. So basically, spare no expense. No deco was spared on this figure. And if you even compare him to the 3 3/4 one, you might say, oh, well, why isn't that figure more expensive than a regular one? He actually doesn't have all that deco. I mean, he's got, a normal amount, but look at, like his gauntlet to the 6-inch gauntlet. There's way more on the 6-inch, mask to mask, chest plate to chest plate. And even if you look at the 6-inch jetpacks, look at how much more deco is on the new jetpack versus the original release Black Series jetpack. And even comparing him to other figures in the Black Series, way less deco. And the height isn't quite the same as the original Boba Fett. Yeah, that first Boba Fett's a little taller. Well, what are you going to do? But yeah, it's the deco that makes him a deluxe figure. If he was a regular figure, he would have to have stripped down deco like that Jack Specific figure, and maybe even not have his accessories. Putting him in the deluxe line is what allows Boba Fett to have all the deco he needs. So while some deluxe figures have been combination sets like Luke and Yoda, or the Probot, which I mentioned earlier, which are just physically a larger figure, well, the deluxe line expands the retail footprint. It allows a manufacturer to have more space, to claim that space at retail. And for certain figures, another great example is Zebra Stripe Batman. Deluxe lines, or in this case a convention exclusive, is what allowed this figure to be made. It was so much more expensive to make Zebra Stripe Batman because of all those deco hits. So the deluxe line allows figures that are either bigger, more accessories, or in the case of Boba Fett, have way more deco to make it to retail and be accurate for kids, collectors, and fans of all ages. I hope this video helped explain why there's a deluxe line for Black Series and why Boba Fett is in it with all his deco. He's a really cool figure, and this is a really cool channel. You should subscribe.